Hi there, this is Francesca from Bitesize Piano. Thank you for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 most common mistakes that I see as an actual piano teacher that beginner pianists and self-taught piano players make. So you may have clicked in this video because you are a beginner, you're just starting out learning the piano, or maybe you're self-taught and you're wondering if these are any mistakes that you're making. Because I'm an actual piano teacher, I teach about 50 students every single week. A lot of my students come to me as complete beginners, or because there is an absolute plethora of things online to learn, they have gained a bit of a background before starting piano lessons with me. Some of my students come to me having tried to teach themselves some bits, some more successful than others, and these are the 3 things that we're going to go through now that I see time and time again of little mistakes that beginners and self-taught pianists make. The number 1 thing that I come across the most is using odd fingers and using very weird fingers to play chords, of navigating around the piano in a very weird and unnatural way, sort of going over fingers instead of going under, and playing chords, sort of trying to eliminate your thumbs. So we need to have a raised wrist hand position in piano, no flat fingers, and obviously no long nails as well. So I regularly have to tell my students to cut their nails. It's easy, they grow fast. It can be easy to forget about your nails, that they grow and that you need to cut them. I even have to tell grown men to cut their nails because it can really hinder how you perform, and it can really, your nails can get stuck between the keys. They can create the tapping sound on the piano. It's not good. So keep your nails short. So you want to try, when playing chords, you want to try using your 1, 3, 5 fingers most of the time, or 1, 2, 5 fingers. Wherever the fingers naturally lay over the notes, they're the fingers that you should probably use. So avoiding using your thumb is a big no-no. We need all the fingers we need in piano. Make sure as well, whilst you're on the topic of hand posture, that you don't have like claw hands. You just need to have sort of relaxed fingers. You need to be sat about an arm length away from the piano so your arms have room to move, particularly if you're a lady and you need more room to move. You want to be in a relaxed position, not sat too low at the piano, because then that has a knock-on effects on the rest of your body. Your wrists will slump, your fingers will fall flat, and you'll lose control over what you're playing. It's also really important to stick to the fingers used in a piece of music so that you learn it quicker, so you're practicing the same movement every single time. So if you think of playing a piece of music like you're choreographing your hands, so you need to practice the same movement, the same series of movement every single time you play it, so you're learning a set routine. If you're using random, weird, different fingers every time you play a piece, it's going to take a lot longer to learn. So this leads me on to the next point very nicely, which is avoiding using, practicing, or learning scales. So scales are fundamental in any instrument, particularly piano, because it's so dexterous for your fingers. I introduced scales very early on with my private piano students, particularly if they're young, so to develop the coordination, the dexterity of your fingers, the strength in the hands early on. So that will enable you to feel comfortable when navigating around the piano. Playing the same fingers and patterns in scales will help you navigate around a piece of music a lot more instinctively and more methodically. So in most of my tutorials, I will state what key signature the music's in, and then I will briefly go over the scale and the notes that are involved in that piece of music. So again, you can comfortably navigate around the piano, you know which notes are going to be involved, and it just helps you further understanding what you're playing. Unfortunately, there are a couple of very large YouTube channels that I think actively discourage scales, which is absolutely bonkers. Don't listen to them. You need to practice scales. There is a plethora of information of scales and tutorials online, some of which are on my channel, although they're quite old now. Practice your scales slowly with the correct use of fingers. The piano is laid out in a very distinct pattern, so the fingers are laid out in such a way that will help you navigate around the pattern of the piano. Scales don't have to be boring. You can have a go at mixing up the rhythm of how you play scales. You can play them in swing rhythm. You could try playing them with different articulations, so in slurred couplets, or you could try playing them staccato. You could try playing them in thirds. You could play some modes, which I've linked a video down below on. There's so many different ways and more interesting ways you can practice scales. What's also a good idea is what I use with my students regularly, is to practice scales using a metronome. So set a realistic speed for you to play to a beat. This also helps you practice keeping in time. So if you struggle with that, try simply clapping or tapping along to a metronome first, and then you can try playing one note of a scale at a time to the tick of a metronome. And my last one is one I see a lot, is bombarding yourself with too much information and equally aiming way too high before you've even, progressed to a point. Because we are in the age of information and technology, it is so easy to get carried away with chain watching video after video of music theory, where it just feeds you too much information. If you're not putting that into practice, you're going to get confused. As an adult, you're so keen to learn and just to get stuck into it when you want to learn a new skill. They are bombarded with all this information, they don't know how to connect it, and they kind of seem a bit overwhelmed and a little bit lost. And then the first sort of several lessons is just clearing up what they're confused about. If you're going to learn how to play an instrument, particularly if you're learning how to read music, it's important that you follow some sort of course or some sort of method book, ideally going to a teacher at least twice a month to keep you on track, and any questions that you have can be explained instantly. Although there is obviously a mountain of stuff available to you online, often just in random branches of information that may not really connect and just overwhelm you and make you seem like learning the piano or any instrument a bit of an impossible task. Also, there's going to be pieces of music that you'll have in mind that you'll want to learn when you start learning an instrument, and it's usually a piece of music that inspires people to learn an instrument or the piano. Although it might be difficult to accept, it might take you a while to get to that point. It is so important to have a solid foundation of sort of music theory, notation reading, correct technical ability before you start trying to learn pieces that are just above your level. There are so many beautiful pieces of music that are simple and effective. They are my 3 top mistakes or misconceptions that beginner students make or self-taught pianists make when they come for lessons with me. This is just based on my experience. I see it time and time again. So if you would like to request a tutorial, keep watching. So that concludes the tutorial. I hope that you have enjoyed it and that it's been useful. In order to request a piano tutorial, you do need to be subscribed and you need to click on this video, which takes you through to my official request space. All requests are noted and considered. Make sure to hit the notifications bell because your request could be coming up soon. I will see you in the next one.